Okay, so today's video is going to essentially answer the three most frequently asked questions that I get during strategy sessions, sometimes when I'm presenting in front of large groups of people, and could honestly be questions that you're asking yourself. So if you are creating content consistently and you're looking for ways to improve, then this is definitely going to be a video that you want to save. And these are the three questions that I'm going to answer today. Number one, how many people decide to follow your Instagram once they land on your profile? There's ways we can look at your analytics. That's what I'm going to show y'all of how you can calculate that formula. Number two, how many people who see your content are then engaging with it, which that's very different than an engagement rate. An engagement rate is comparing the content to all of your followers when we know not all of your followers actually see every piece of content. So this is specifically on how many that actually see it, engage with it. And then the last one, which is probably the most frequent one, is how many of my followers are actually seeing my content. So buckle up. Get your phones ready. In fact, if you need to hit pause to go get your phones, maybe you're watching this on your computer or even your TV, which you could be. If you are, take a picture, post it, tag me. I want to see. And let's dive into the first question. So how many people decide to follow you once they land on your Instagram profile? Here's what I want you to do, which the only way you can read these insights, guys, is you have to have a professional account on Instagram. There's two different types of professional accounts. There's the business professional, and then there's the creator. Now, if you're using third-party scheduling tools or people like us to schedule on your behalf, then it has to be a business account. I know there's a lot of people that go back and forth on wanting a creator account because it feels like you have more creativity, which you do as a creator. However, it can get you in trouble if you look at the terms and conditions on, are you following Instagram's rules if you are a business posting, educational content for your business. So just a little disclaimer there, this does not work if you don't have a business professional or creator account. All right, I'm going to go ahead and record my screen so you guys can follow along with me. You should have your phones, and I want you to open up your Instagram app. And what you'll want to do is click on the bottom right where it has your profile picture. And it may open up straight to your profile, but if it doesn't, then you're going to click the profile picture. And then I want you to click the three little hamburger lines at the top right. Once you've done that, you're going to click on Insights. And there's essentially two numbers that we need to calculate for this first question. Again, we are trying to address how many people that land on your profile actually then end up following you. So the first thing that we have to look at is the total of followers that you gained just in the last 30 days. So if you notice on the top left, see where it says last 7 days on my phone? That's by default. So Instagram's always going to do last 7 days. I do not recommend you look at your insights that often. I always look at the last 30 days. Okay, so I'm going to click last 30 days and then update. And I want you to tap on where it says total followers. So you're going to tap total followers, and you'll see right in the middle where it says growth. First of all, guys, it is very normal to have some people who unfollow you as well as some that follow. You're going to have people that drop off. There's still bots out there. So it could be people who are using bots. It could be insurance providers that follow them, or it could actually even be clients that maybe your content is no longer suiting their needs because it's only content that would be useful for people who are looking for a home. So for this formula, I believe you should use the one in the middle. So for me, it says follows and then it says 214. So when I go to write out this math problem, 214 will be the numerator. I don't believe in doing your overall net followers for the last 30 days because you had some that unfollowed you. And what we're trying to measure for conversion is the total of new follows that you received after they landed on your profile. So that's number one. You're going to put that number, go ahead and write it down, and you're going to put it in the numerator. And now let's get the second number. The second number we've got to find is now how many profile visits did you receive in the last 30 days? So for this one, you're going to go back and you're going to go to your overview and see where it says accounts reached. You're going to tap on accounts reached. Now you will scroll down and see here where it says profile visits. And guys, first of all, I probably should address this at the very beginning when I was looking at the overall dashboard. There's going to be times where you have, an increase and there's going to be positive numbers in green, and there's going to be times where it's in red. Know that when I have this as last 30 days, it's always comparing my data from the 30 days prior to that. And so be careful on how you judge this part of the growth, because for me, I wasn't posting a whole lot when I was traveling these last 2 weeks. I think there was one week I only made one post and I wasn't doing any engagement at all. Shame on me, I know. But if it's comparing me to 30 days prior to that, then, it's not really a fair comparison. And so sometimes your data could be skewed depending on, you could have gotten on the stage and maybe you were at Momentum Builder and spoke and you had a lot of new followers that started following you because you were on stage, and that gets you a little bit more exposure. So just a little like disclaimer or side note there. Okay, so where it says total profile visits, again, this is in the last 30 days. Now I'm going to take that 793 and that's going to go in your denominator. Okay, so that is our first equation. We're basically getting the percentage of how many people who end up on your profile are then taking action. And depending on this percentage, so let me just give you a few benchmarks to help with this. And there's no industry standard, guys, on this. It's very difficult for mortgage content to get visibility, but from what little that I found online, here's what I would consider as a low, medium, high metric that you could be measuring yourself against. So anything under 10%, I would say is on the lower range. Anything between 10 to 30% is middle. And then anything that's 30% or higher is good. Okay. My percentage was 26.9. So I would round up to 27%. That's only the middle grade. That's the middle range. So don't beat yourself up about this. But now, once you look at this number, it's like, okay, what do we need to do differently? Like, how should we look at this? Also know that the greater amount of people that you have landing on your page, just because of simple math, it usually means the smaller your percentage is going to be. So just also keep that in mind. Again, for those of you who maybe do a lot of brokerage visits or big agent meetings and presentations where you may have a lot of people that land on your profile, or maybe you have a QR code that they're scanning, and so you get a lot of people that land on the profile, just make sure that you're aware of, the impacts of how that number is calculated. But here's a couple things that I want to point out. Usually when people are scrolling on social, and let's say they happen to come across one of your carousel posts or one of your reels. So that's typically when they're going to then, click on the post and land on your page or on your profile. Basically what I call your shop, right? That's your online first impression. And so a couple things to consider when you're looking at your profile is, how's the profile picture? Is it a clear photo of you? Does it include your face? Is it faces, guys, and eyes can help establish trust? Do you have your bio optimized where it's very clearly stating exactly what you do, who you are? Do you have highlights at the bottom to create binge-worthy content? Do you have a link in your bio, like a link tree, so it's easy for people to then take action, which you can see on how many external link taps are you getting? But all these things matter. Like when they land on your storefront, the whole point is to persuade them to then follow you or to take some kind of action, DM you, click the link in your bio, something. Okay. So if that number is on the low side, then you may want to schedule a strategy call or email us and let's take a look at your profile and see what we need to tweak. Okay. And I've done a video on that before. So if I need to do another one, you guys let me know as well. So that's the first calculation that I want to make sure everybody has, and you write that number down. The second one, how many people who see my content engage with it? And like I said earlier, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I could just look at the engagement rate. The engagement rate is not a great metric because it's comparing your engagement per post based off the total number of followers you have. And I just believe that, we know not all followers see every bit of content that you create. So I'm trying to look for an accurate percentage of true engagement. So these are the numbers that we're going to calculate. Again, it's going to be we'll put a number in the numerator, a number in denominator. We'll multiply it by 100 to get the percentage. And let me go ahead and share my screen so we can do this. Okay. So once again, so I'm going to be on my profile page. I'm going to click on the 3 hamburger lines. I'm going to go back to insights. And this, since we're doing the percent of people who saw your content and then decided to engage with it, that means we need again, we're going to change it to the last 30 days up at the top, click update. And I want you to go to accounts reached and see where it says 4211 on my screen. So you don't necessarily have to tap on it, but I want you to write down 42 or don't write your number down. This number is going to be on the bottom of your fraction. Okay, put that there. And then the numerator is going to be accounts engaged. Again, this is set up for the last 30 days. So see that middle number, 479 for me, I'm going to put that at the numerator position. And so when I do that calculation, that is 11%. So that means 11% of the people who saw my content decided to engage with it. So you go ahead and calculate your number. Again, you're going to go to your insights, make sure you have your total reached from the last 30 days and you have your total engaged. And these are the benchmarks. Again, take it with a grain of salt, but I would say anything below 5% is probably on the lower scale. Now, it's also important to look at the content that you posted in the last 30 days. Some of it may not be engagement worthy content. Maybe you didn't have a call to action. Maybe you didn't ask people to like or comment or DM you. Maybe you didn't share it to your stories. Maybe it's like credit or financial literacy related, where it may make people not want to like or comment just for discretion of, most people don't want to reveal that they need credit help. So if anything less than 5%, I would consider that kind of low. That means you're probably not also posting anything that is personal or comical or inspirational. Anything from 5 to 15% is about the mid-range. And so anything over 15% is on the higher side. And remember, the best content or the best marketing just in general are the ones that they trigger a feeling, they trigger an emotion, they get people to respond, which is why I say it's a lot like baseball. You don't hit every single time. So not every post is necessarily going to be in a way that may strike that emotional chord, but that's why some of the point of view types of posts that we're seeing are like, imagine this as your new view. And maybe it's like an office background when you're on Zoom for your future work calls. Like, this is what your this is the backdrop your coworkers will see in your new home with the new office. Anything that can get people to imagine that's inspirational, motivational, touching, moving. Again, that's when you know that you've triggered a response or some kind of activity. And again, the best case scenario is it creates at least curiosity where you get people who are then commenting with different questions or DMing you with questions. So that's the gold. Okay, let's get to question number 3, which is probably the most asked question. How many of my followers are actually seeing my content? All ready for that one? Okay, so this is what we're going to do. Okay, so for this example, since we are trying to find the percentage of your followers that are actually seeing your content, here's what we need to do. Again, we're going to go to your insights, and you may think that you would click on the total followers, but that's not actually the case. You're going to go to accounts reached. I'm going to also make sure in the top left-hand corner, I change that to the last 30 days. Almost forgot to do that. By the way, this is great to show you just more information on your demographics, how many are followers versus non-followers. Okay, so I'm going to take the number 1886, right? So that will end up being my numerator. So go ahead and make sure that you've also found, again, we're looking at how many followers in the last 30 days, right? So you're going to take that number, that one will end up on the numerator, and then we're going to divide it by your total number of followers. So let's divide that by my total followers, which is 4739 for me. Again, it's right there on the right. So 4739 is going to go on the denominator. See, you guys thought only y'all did calculations, DTI, calculating income. We do it for social media as well. Okay, so when I do that calculation, I get 40%. So that means 40% of my followers are actually seeing my content, which is pretty good, actually. From a benchmark standpoint, here's what I would base your number off of. I would say anything below 20% is lower. Okay, so 20% and lower needs improvement. Anything from 20 to 50% would be the mid-range. And then anything 50% or higher means we need to chat because I want to know what you're doing to get 50% or higher on that when it comes to your mortgage content. Now, I will say that if that number is on the lower side, what that may mean is you need to reactivate some of your followers. So when we're doing that engagement strategy of the likes, the comments, the follows, the DMs, all of that, you may need to, like, maybe you haven't updated your favorites feed. And so you keep going to the same accounts and you're engaging with the same people. And so we've got to send signals to the algorithm. And the best way to do that is for you to proactively engage with other people that you want to see your content. And for those of you who are at max capacity on your favorites feed, here's another pro tip. Actually saw this, Todd Bookspan actually had mentioned this, where he said it took him 35 minutes to do his own likes, comments, and DMs, which, guys, that's part of prospecting. That's your prospecting time. Here's what you can do if you're at max capacity on your favorites feed, and maybe you just need help with in your notifications, that if you got alerts of some of the people that you want to be seen by or haven't talked to in a while, what you can do is click on, so I'll use Cindy Ertman as an example. If I click on Cindy Ertman, I can then click at the top right, see the bell icon. If I tap that, I could then receive notifications every time she makes a new post, every time she posts a story, every time she posts a reel, her broadcast channel. And now anytime she makes one of these posts, it'll send me a notification. And then I can go and I can do my engagement strategy. So that's kind of like a workaround. I would not turn all of those on if there are people already in your favorites feed. And that doesn't mean that every time I get a notification, I'm going to be, dropping everything that I'm doing to go interact. But it is a little workaround for those of you who need help with growing that reach, because maybe you're lower on the number of followers that are actually seeing your content. That's usually a dead giveaway of how many of you are utilizing DMs or story comments. So that's how I like to do the story comments, and just doing those non-negotiables that we've talked about. The using your social media as an extension to your CRM so that we are constantly staying top of mind to the right accounts. Because remember, part of the signals and how the whole machine is dissecting your account and your visibility is one of the factors is who you're following. So it's looking at like common patterns between those that you follow as well as those that follow you. That's why it's the worst thing you can do is to buy followers. Or for some who have had their account for years and maybe you converted it to a business account, which is okay. Just know that, some of the people that you're following could be old college friends that you don't ever talk to and don't even live in the state that you're licensed in to originate. And just know, just like interest rates, there's all these different variables that impact rate. That's the same thing with visibility of your account. And so at the end of the day, if every single post that you create, if you're thinking about who is it serving, why do they care? If you were them, would you interact with it? If you were them and it showed up on their feed, would it entice them to then go to your profile? And then does your profile convince them to want to follow? So again, looking at things of which 3 posts do you have pinned at the top? Like, what are the first 9 posts that you have, honestly? That's why it's important to consistently create new content. And are you posting to your stories? Are you implementing the vlog kind of strategy, which, guys, vlogging is not just sharing content to your stories. Like, you should every once in a while, it should be showing your face and you're talking to the camera, explaining what you're doing. What do you have going on for the day? That is your reality TV show almost. That's the day in the life of what you do. And it doesn't matter how boring it is. But if you're not ever showing your face and vlogging where people feel like you're allowing them to be a part of the journey with you, well, that may create the lack of engagement that you're seeing. Because part of the goal of the story post is you're putting yourself on a path of opportunity to create conversations. And we know that the more connections you make, the more conversations you have, and the more conversations you have, the more opportunities and conversion that it leads to. So I hope you found this helpful. If you have additional questions, let me know. Remember, it's not just about likes, comments, follows. There's other metrics and conversions that we should be looking at. And when we receive this information, don't become emotionally attached to it. Use it to make small little tweaks and what you can do in your part of the content strategy. And remember, it's not about going viral or being famous, because most of the time, the people that we know that are famous, it's because they're great. Like Jason Kelce, sad news this week. Jason Kelce, Kobe Bryant, they were great. And because they were great, they were famous. What I have found is too many want to be influencers and they want to be famous so they can be great. It doesn't work that way. Let's work on being great first. The rest will come. Okay? Y'all take care.